What's up, everyone? Manny B here, and today I thought we'd talk about how to break into data science. This is a question that I get all the time, and I thought it would be helpful for some of you out there for me to compile my thoughts on the matter and some recommendations and some strategies for going about breaking into a career in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So I've compiled a list of 4 things that you should be doing. And we'll kick it off with number 4, and probably the most obvious, which is getting some coursework underneath your belt. So there's a lot. The good news is that there are a lot of options out there for you to learn the skill set. The bad news is that there are a lot of options for you out there to learn this particular skill set. And when we're talking about getting that coursework done, I usually like to think about it on a spectrum from low cost to low structure options to high cost and high structure options, and then everything in between. So I'm sure that's a little bit confusing at first, but for example, low cost, low structure, there are a lot of free online courses out there. They're called MOOCs, massive open online courses. I love these. I've taken a number of these, particularly from Coursera. If you can vet out the good ones, these are like really good, cheap ways to pick up the skills that you're going to need in terms of computer programming, statistics, mathematical concepts that are important in data science. So those are MOOCs, massive open online courses. Platforms that I like are Coursera, edX, and Udacity. I've had the most success with Coursera, and particularly the Johns Hopkins data science specialization, which I thought was very good. So I would check out Coursera for MOOCs. Also in this category of low cost, low structure is online competition platforms like Kaggle. So I like to describe Kaggle as the NFL for data scientists. So it's a platform where companies make data available, or organizations make data available, and have data scientists hack away at the data, put together data science models, and then there's sort of a leaderboard that gets updated on a regular basis, and you get to sort of rank yourself against data scientists from all over the world. And there's a lot of collaboration that happens on these sites as well. So people will share different codes and snippets that they put together that have helped them solve the particular problem. So great place to get experience, great place to collaborate with other data scientists, and a platform to get recognized and to potentially earn some money. So I think the prizes on there for competitions are from anywhere from $2,000 to I feel like I've seen $100,000 on there. So of course super competitive to get some of those prize monies. But again, you're there to learn and to get some practice. So that's sort of, and then of course books and reading over people's Git repos and hacking things together, following blog posts. This is all what I would consider sort of low cost, low structure. The problem with this category, I feel, is that it takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline to go down this route. So I went down this route in part because I felt like I had really good training, having completed the CFA in finance, the Chartered Financial Analyst program, where you're required to put in some 500 to 800 hours self-study on your own. Just sort of, they sort of just drop the curriculum on top of you and say, hey, read this and be prepared to take a test in 6 months or a year. And so I was used to just hitting the libraries after work from 5 to 8 every day and on the weekends to get my work done. And so for me, this was a natural path to break into data science, and in particular, some of the Coursera MOOCs that I mentioned earlier. It's just, you have an assignment, you have to get it done on your off hours if you're working, and you have to give up some Friday nights, some Saturday nights to complete some homework tasks. That, I think it's pretty tough. I think it can be tough for people, but if you feel you have that self-discipline, I highly recommend the low-cost, low-structure approach, because it is going to be where you get the most bang for your buck. So here you want to get a couple of MOOC classes, you want to get some buddies together, you want to join some certificate programs, some specialization programs that give you a nice curriculum to follow, and get some books to review that will act as reference. So that's low cost, low structure. On the other end of the spectrum, I would say there's high cost, high structure. So that, right there, the main option that comes to mind are graduate programs. So these are somewhat newer. I'm not sure how prevalent they were when I was breaking into the industry. But I know now there's a good number of options out there that seem fairly reputable. Northwestern has a data science master's program. DePaul has one. University of Chicago. The one that has gotten the most praise, at least in my circle, is the Masters of Information and Data Science from UC Berkeley, which, if I recall correctly, is this hybrid of on-site versus remote, mostly remote, and mostly online classes, but a lot of high touch from some very good professors. And I've had two data scientists that I respect quite a bit go down this course, and they speak very highly of the program. So I would check out the UC Berkeley program if you're inclined for that bucket, again, of high cost, high structure. And I think it should be noted too that the two examples that come to mind for me, they started the program while they were working as a data scientist. So some of that cost was being offset by the company, I'm sure. So again, if you need that structure and you need that incentive or that extra motivation to complete your work, this might be a good way to go down that route. Now, okay, so that's two ends of the extreme. The middle part of it. So somewhere in the middle, not as expensive as graduate programs, I wouldn't think, and more structure than just doing things on your own with MOOCs, are the boot camps. So these are, can range from 2 months to 6 months, I think, and they're either part-time or they're full-time, but they're just essentially a cohort that goes through a curriculum in a classroom setting. Can also be a mix of on-site and remote. A couple of boot camps that come to mind that I've heard good things about are Metis, the Metis boot camp seems to be pretty good. Galvanize out on the West Coast, I've had a couple of folks go through that program, speak highly of it. And then the one that I'm most curious about is the Lambda School data science kind of boot camp or program. Why I'm really excited about Lambda School is because they're pioneering a educational sort of an innovation in how to fund higher education, which is called the income sharing agreement. So, what an ISA is an agreement that a student enters in with a program that essentially gives them the option to not pay anything up front for the education and have the education funded by earnings after the student has completed the course. So why I'm really excited about this is because I think student debt is a major issue in funding higher education. I don't think there's a lot of skin in the game for these universities. And so as a result, student debt has kind of ballooned out of control. I think it's a big problem. And I like ASA because it incentivizes the institution to care about the quality of the education past the point of graduation. So, for example, if somebody from what I understand, and I'm not 100% familiar with this, but from what I understand, if you go to Lambda school and you don't get a job that gives you more than $50,000 a year in salary, you're not going to pay them anything, and you're not going to pay anything until you get that job. And then once you get that job, you're going to pay a certain percentage of that salary past $50K for a 3 or 5 year period. So I mean, I really like that. That seems to me like a great innovation that more institutions have to take advantage of. And again, Lambda just to me is getting a lot of buzz, and I give them points for trying out this new innovation in that agreement and income share agreement. So I would check out Lambda School too, and I know they have a program in data science, which is pretty cool. All right, so those would be my recommendations in terms of getting educated in the space, from, again, doing it yourself to going to a graduate program to doing boot camps. That's sort of the spectrum, and you have to ask yourself, okay, how disciplined of a person am I? How much social interaction do I need? How much coaching do I need on a day-to-day basis? Do I need to pay up a significant amount so I feel like I'm committed to something? Is a company going to help fund some of this? And then based on how you answer those questions, I think that'll sort of give you a sense of where you should be investing your educational hours and dollars. So that's number 4. That's baseline. How to start is getting educated in courses. All right. So number 3. So number 3 for me is showing your work, having a portfolio of projects that you've worked on and that show what you're interested in. So for me, this starts with a Git profile, a GitHub profile. So this is where you're going to be parking your code. This is where you're going to be saving the code for your examples and what you're working on. You always want to have this to show a potential employer or someone you're trying to network with, to show them sort of an example of the work that you're doing, and to also signal that you're serious about this particular career. Because the nice thing about data science is that my sense is that ability to code and a firm understanding of mathematical and statistical concepts trumps everything. Schooling, gaps in your work history. If you can show coding and mathematical and statistical concepts in a portfolio, it's going to take you a long way. My sense is that you can have as little as a high school degree, and if you're able to show tangible proof points of your ability to code something up, that will get you in the door, or get you an interview. I feel if you position it right. But in any respect, it's so important to have this stuff available for folks to check out. And so again, that starts with the GitHub profile and repositories and repos to show other folks. The other thing that I would recommend is having a personal website. So having somewhere where people can go and learn more about you and some of your projects, some of your thoughts, and then having a portfolio there of curated projects that you want to folks to look at. So the way that I set it up was I pretty much use my GitHub profile as just a storage for all of my projects and all of the code. And so it was just a lot of stuff there. And then I took the time to curate my favorite projects and put them on my personal website. And so I had sort of a gallery of projects that people can cycle through, and they would click on it, and there would be a little bit of a write-up explaining the background, what I was doing, and then also a link to the code on GitHub for people that wanted to dive in and see what type of statistical techniques I was using, and what type of the actual code behind the example. That was kind of always my favorite approach in terms of setting this up, because you want to showcase your projects to people that might not necessarily be so code centric, and so a nice little write up on your blog, on your website helps that. And then for folks that want to go deeper, then here's a link to the code, and you can go check that out. So I thought that was a nice balance. The other thing that I've seen that I really like too are just sort of general blog posts and also articles on platforms like Medium. Again, they don't have to be super technical, but this helps sort of show and elaborate, or not elaborate, but just show your interest in machine learning, in particular what areas you're interested in. It gives employers a sense of your communication skills, and that's helpful because the communication goes a long way. All right, so that's number 3. That's thing number 3 that you should be doing, which again is showing your work, having a portfolio of projects that you can show a potential employer. That sort of shows your interest in data science, and in particular, what area within data science that you're really looking to hone in on. So that's number 3. All right, so moving on to number 2. Okay, so number 2 for me is thing number 2 that you should be doing is to focus on having a well-rounded skills profile. It sounds a little awkward the way I'm putting it, so let me explain a little bit further. So I think there are sort of two areas that you're going to be evaluated on as you interview for data science and machine learning positions. One is the technical. And that's actually pretty straightforward to do. Usually what happens is you get a phone interview, you get some basic questions on data science technologies, terms, and techniques. And if you pass that, then you'll generally have an in-person full day's worth of interviews. And the technical part is you usually have some sort of take-home case study that you're given, and you'll work through that. You'll turn it in and you'll present it, and then you'll get hit by a bunch of questions from your interviewers. And I feel like the technical part is pretty straightforward. Like, you're either going to pass that or you're not. And I feel like there is a lot of good resources out there for how to get past that technical aspect and how to prepare for all of the technical questions that you're going to get in your standard data science interview. So my sense is that just find that, do that work, and just be prepared for that, because it can be tough. But I feel like that's pretty well documented. But there's another aspect to the interview that is less documented, I think, and a little bit harder to prepare for, and it's easy to overlook. And that, to me, is a more sort of abstract soft skills that are very important for any data science team. And here, I'm thinking of things like communication, your ability to collaborate with other team members, your ability to understand a problem from a business perspective, and also domain expertise and whatever space that the company is working in. So my recommendation would be like, yes, absolutely prepare for the technical part of this, but don't overlook those other soft skills that are just as important, if not more important, and they're easier to overlook. And so if you spend all your time thinking through all the many questions you might get on algorithms and cleaning up all your code and making that super neat and organized, and you don't think about how you're signaling that you are an effective communicator, that you're going to be someone that other data scientists are going to enjoy working with, that you're going to be someone that's going to be thinking about profit and loss for different projects, ROI on different projects. That's all points that you want to pick up. And even if you're not and it may help you, because it may be that you're not the strongest on the technical front, you're adequate, but then if you show that you're an awesome collaborator and that you're an awesome communicator, that will put you over the top top and get you through into the organization. So that would be my recommendation there. Recommendation number 2 is make sure you're encompassing both the technical part and the more abstract soft skills part in your skills profile. All right. So item number 1 on this list. Here we go. Count. Drum roll, please. All right. So item number 1 on this list is establishing a network. This is something that I see a lot of a few aspiring data scientists struggle with, in part because I think I think the person that's really good at programming, really good at math, tends to lean a little bit more towards an introvert. And so maybe it's just harder, but I think it's just a problem for everybody is establishing a good network. What you don't want to be doing is trying to connect with people a week before an interview or a week before you submitting your application into an organization. You want to build up that network in advance. You don't have to be super proficient to connect with people that are data scientists and machine learning engineers. What you'll find is that these folks tend to be very, very generous with their time and their attention. And if you reach out to them and say, hey, just want to make a connection, here's what I'm learning, here's the courses that I'm taking, here are the projects that I'm working on, just kind of, wanted to put myself on your radar, hope you're doing well, just want to join your network, something like that. I think you will get a really good response from most people. And if you do that in advance and can solicit some recommendations and get some referrals into organizations, that's going to help you a long way. The reason why this is so important is because there's high demand for data scientists, but there's also there's a lot of folks applying for these jobs. So back at my time with the technology startup here in Chicago, I mean, we saw maybe a 1,000 applications for every one position we had available as a data scientist. It was extremely hard to get an offer. It was extremely hard to even get past that initial screening of a quick call and then the full the full on-site interview part of it. So it just helps tremendously to be able to lean on someone and say, hey, I just submitted my application, if you wouldn't mind passing it along. Or even better, if they come across a job and you have been sharing your goals and your aspirations and your progress, you're immediately going to come to mind, and they're going to say, hey, you should check out this job. Why don't you take a look at that? So, all right. So again, the network is one of those things that I would say, if you think of the Eisenhower matrix of urgent and important, not urgent, not important, and the different combinations, I would say that building a network falls into the very important but not urgent. So it's going to be very easy for you to focus all your time on just classes and courses and doing code, because that's hard enough, and you're going to ignore this very important part of your strategy. And I would just tell you that can be a huge mistake. Do not ignore this. Every week, just give yourself a goal. I'm going to connect with 3 data scientists at these two organizations, and I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm just going to say hi, whatever, and that's all you have to do. And I think another good way to do this is to attend conferences and pop-ups and meetups. That's a great place to just connect with these folks as well. And all you have to do is introduce yourself and explain where you are. You don't have to oversell, and just make a connection. These folks are super generous with their time, and they can help you quite a bit. All right, so those are my thoughts on breaking into data science. I hope they were helpful. And if you enjoyed the episode, Please share with your friends. Please give us a review on iTunes and send us your thoughts. How can we get better? What would you like us to cover in future episodes on the show? All right, so thanks everyone. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.